Hello everyone. Today I will introduce how to use the Kiloview N20 converter. Kiloview N20 is a combination of encoding and decoding. The factory default is encoding mode. Normally, as shown in the picture, connect the HDMI video source. Connect the Ethernet. Plug in the power cord to start this device until 3 work indicators lights up. The device starts working. Now in this network, other NDI-compatible software can discover this device. For example, we open the studio monitor, click the button in the upper left corner. The device is automatically discovering. After a few seconds, this NDI source can be found. Select it. We'll see black screen. Click the gear-shaped button in the lower right corner of the software to directly jump to the device's management page. The default username and password are admin and admin. Then we click to log in. After logging in to the device for the first time or restoring the factory settings, you need to accept the OLA on the web page before you can put NDI stream. This is why the previous connection was a black screen. Click Agree to enter the device management page. In the studio monitor, the video is already playing normally. In the future, you can directly pull the NDI stream as long as you don't restore the factory settings. On the management page, there are 4 menu items: encoder, decoder, network, and system setup. We will introduce them in details below. First, let's see the device login and network configuration. Since the encoding rate of N20 is over 100 mega, you need to connect it to the gigabit switch network. Generally, there are 3 ways to log in to N20. The first is to jump through the studio monitor that we just performed. In this case, N20 needs to be connected to a network with the DHCP function, and the device can automatically obtain the IP, mask, gateway, and DNS from the network. The computer is also connected to the same network to automatically obtain the IP address and DNS. After discovering N20 through Studio Monitor, we can access to the device management page. The second way is that after N20 gets an IP address from the network, you can view the IP address from the DHCP server and then use it to log into the device. For example, we found the IP address of this device is 192.168.3.137, and we can use it to log into the management page directly. In this way, you need to find the IP addresses one by one from DHCP server, so the operation will be more complicated and less used. The third way is to connect the device and computer to the same switch. As N20 has a default IP address, which is 192.168.1.168. The computer is also configured with an IP address and mask of the same subnet. For example, set the computer's IP address to 192.168.1.99 and the mask to 255.255.255.0. Gateway is 192.168.1.1. DNS is 8.8.8.8. So we can use 192.168.1.168 to log in to the device management page. Even if the device is connected to a network with a DHCP function, you can still log in through this default address. When logged in, there will be an authentication dialog. The username and password are admin and admin. After login, enter the network menu. N20's Ethernet port can be configured with dual IP addresses corresponding to the Ethernet and the local link options. The Ethernet IP address is the working address, which can be set to DHCP dynamic or manual set. obtained by DHCP requires the device-connected network has DHCP assignment function. Menu set needs to configure IP, mask, gateway, DNS according to your network situation. After setting the Ethernet address, if N20 needs to communicate with other devices and N20 is directly connected to the computer currently, you need to connect the device to the network switch. The local link address is the device's default management IP address, which is 192.168.1.168. It doesn't need to be modified generally, as it won't affect the Ethernet address configured above. If you forgot after modifying it, just restoring the factory settings to return to the default value. When you use the device, we found that you can log into the management page, but cannot find this NDI source if by default IP address. You need to configure the Ethernet port with an IP address before you can discover this device through NDI. The IP address can be DHCP dynamic or manual set. At this time, the studio monitor can discover the device. Select it, and the video stream played normal. Then let's see the encoding function. Generally, after the video source is accessible, we don't need to change anything to the device. It can encode normally. Log into the management page, you can see the information of the video source identified by the device, including resolution, frame rate, bit rate, and audio format. The resolution supports up to 4K p60. The encoding bitrate is real-time changed because the impact of video image changes. Generally, the 4K p60 code rate is 250 megabits per second. 4K p30 code rate is 200 megabits per second, and 1080 p60 code rate is 125 megabits per second. In the basic settings section, we can modify the device's NDI group, device name, and channel name to identify the device better. The default group name of NDI is public. This group name can be searched by any other device. If you want to set up a private group and not allow other devices to stream, you can manually set a group name. The group name can include English letters and numbers. You are allowed to set multiple group names which are separated by a comma. For example, now I change the group name as ABC123 and KKK567. We see that the studio monitor cannot discover the NDI source of this private group. It can only find the NDI source of the public group. We restore the group name to the default value, and now we can see that software can discover this NDI source again. The device name and channel name can also be modified. For example, after we modify the channel name, we can see that the NDI stream has been interrupted in the studio monitor, and we need to rediscover the new name and connect it to poor stream. After the above three parameters modified, we don't need to click on Save button, just click anywhere on the page, and the configuration will be automatically saved. The defaulted audio source is HDMI embedded audio. Analog audio can't be used as an embedded code currently, but can only be used as a voice call function. The value of the embedded audio is also adjustable. You can increase or decrease the value. The defaulted encoding quality is 100%. It is adjustable. For some special videos or pictures, you can increase the encoding quality to improve the image performance, and the encoding bitrate will also increase. In the advanced settings section, you can set up the NDI connection and the PDZ function. Defaulted NDI is connected through unicast. You can also set it to multicast. Just select the multicast mode, click the Generate button. It can automatically generate a multicast address, and then click Apply. The NDI string will be transmitted in multi-mode. Let's go about the PDZ function. N20 supports network PDZ and serial PDZ. The network PDZ needs to be configured with a protocol address and port, PDZ protocol, and PDZ address. For serial PDZ, after you transfer extended Type-C to USB, inserting the USB to 232 or 485 converted cable can make this device support the serial PDZ function. The control parameters are correctly configured. The PDZ control function can be realized when you correctly configure the controlling parameters. In a word, for Kiloview N20's encoding function, if you can connect the device and put string correctly, you don't need to log in device's management page. If you can't use it directly, you need to log in to check it. The first is to check whether the N20 can correctly identify the resolution format of the video source. The second is to check if the encoding bitrate is normal or not. If the current encoding bitrate is only a few or 10 bits per second, this is abnormal. You can try to restart the device. The third is to check the network bandwidth usage of the streaming computer. The path is computer's task manager. To performance, to Ethernet. Generally, the bitrate received by the streaming computer needs to be consistent with the encoding bitrate of the encoder. Sometimes, although some computers use a gigabit Ethernet port, the actual NDI stream is only a few megabits. This is abnormal. In this case, you need to replace the computer for testing. Okay, now let's introduce the decoding function. As shown in the picture, NDI decoding is to pull NDI stream from the network and output it through HDMI interface. Please remember to connect the HDMI out interface as the decoding output interface. We mentioned earlier that the NDI-20's network port can be configured with dual IP addresses, but when decoding, the device can discover the NDI source through only one IP. If there are multiple IP addresses, the NDI discovery will be confusing. So, when switching to the decoding function, we need to disable the default management address. Therefore, before switching the decoding function, we should confirm to use the IP address of the Ethernet port to log in the web page. We can click the network menu to view it before switching. After logging in, click Code to switch the decoding mode. Click OK, encoding process will stop. Click OK to temporarily disable the local link address. So we go to the decoding configuration page. The decoding page is mainly divided into three parts: currently decoding output, decoding preset, the source list. Three parts are related to each other. Now let's start from the source list. The source list will defaulted display the automatically scanned NDI sources of the public group. Add this NDI source to the decoding preset field by clicking the plus button. If you want to add an NDI source for this private group name, you can click the button to set it. This will display the NDI group name automatically scanned by the device. We see that in addition to the public group name, there is also an ABC123 group name. Select this group name and click OK. Then click the refresh button. We see the NDI source of the ABC123 group name is shown here. You can also add it to the decoding preset field. We return the scan group name to the default value. On the right side of the source list, click the plus button. you can manually add the IP address of an NDI source. In this way, you can add an NDI source for other subnets. Input the IP address and click the plus button to add it to manually added source list. Multiple IP addresses are allowed added to scan at the same time. Click OK and refresh the list again. We see that the manually scanned NDI source has been displayed in the list. This group name will be displayed as menu. You can also add it to the decode preset field. For each NDI source in the scan list, in addition to adding it to the decoding preset field, click the switch button to switch it to direct decoding output. Then we can see in the current decoding output field that this NDI source has been decoded and output. Information about the current decoding output will also be displayed here, including the NDI source and channel name, resolution, audio format, IP address, and the bitrate and frame rate of the currently decoded output video. The middle part is the decoding preset function. You can add up to 9 preset decoding sources in the decoding preset field. Click the corresponding NDI source and the device starts decoding. By clicking on different NDI sources, you can quickly switch the decoded output. In the upper right corner of the preset NDI source, click the close button to delete this source. The decoding preset field keeps a blank output box. When switching to a video source without decoding output, the device outputs the color set by this box. The blank output box can also be used for output testing. Select different color areas can output different colors to the monitor. Click the arrow icon to the smooth switching settings. When the video is large or the transmission is slow, setting a longer switching time can ensure that the switching screen achieves a better switching effect. Otherwise, the blank output box will be displayed when the screen has not been output after switching. There is also a hint of advanced functions here in the decoding preset field. You can connect a USB numeric keyboard by extending Type-C to USB, and use the numeric keys to switch decoding output between decoding preset sources. The numbers from 1 to 9 corresponded to the 9% NDI sources for decoding, and a 0 represents the blank output box. It also supports the PDC control by using the function. Since the N20 can only decode the source of full NDI, but it can discover all the sources of NDI HX 4.0. So there are some NDI sources which can be discovered but can't be decoded. For the NDI stream output by the studio monitor, if it is playing a full NDI stream, the device can decode and output. If it is playing an NDI HX stream, it can't, and the bitrate displayed is 0. If the current decoding source is disconnected, there is a warning prompt in the upper right corner to indicate that the device is offline, and the decoding preset field will also be grayed out. You can also set the tally. Turn on the PGM as the program output mode. The tally light is on in red. Turn on the PVW as the preview mode. The tally light is on in green. Open two modes at the same time as the mixed mode. The tally lights are all amber. Click the setting icon on the right to set the parameters of the decoded output. The video output format is the same as the source. It is not supported to modify. You can adjust the frame rate. The auto sample rate can be selected for output or RAW. Finally, we introduce the system setup function. User Manage can add and delete users, modify passwords, and more. Reset is used to reset the encoder and decoder service. Reboot is used for device software restart. Restore can restore the device to the factory default values. Firmware is for product firmware upgrade. Move your mouse to this button to display the serial number and version information of the current device.